So it's been a while since I did one of these videos because on Monday I had pacemaker surgery. So as you can see right over here, I have this really gnarly scar. Um, that sort of square thing around there is this weird like skin bandage that they put that slowly, it's like a fake plastic skin and it slowly disappears. Keeps the wound clean, I guess. It's gross. This is my third pacemaker. I've had a pacemaker since I was 14. I had it replaced when I was 20. And now, almost exactly 10 years to the day, I got my third one. So I haven't felt great um, in the last few days, and I've been mostly just chilling. And I did a lot of rewatching. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that I did a lot of rewatching this week. Some more successful revisits than others. But today I sat down to watch probably, arguably, most likely the longest film I will watch this year, and one of the longest films, maybe the longest film I've ever watched. I don't know. It was really long. Technically, is it a mini series? Is it a film? I don't know. I'm gonna call it a film and jump on this bandwagon. That's being OJ Made in America. Um, I think it's good, and I think it's extensive. It has some major issues, so really I want to cover the issues more than, like, it's a well-made doc for the most part. I think that it really covered how the case was bungled really well, and it goes over that trial really well. And I liked having Marsha Clark talk a lot. She's great. I think that it did a pretty good job of sort of contextualizing that trial was coming on the heels of the Rodney King trial. I think that worked. What didn't work for me was the opening first, and part of this could be that he just couldn't find some people to talk. I don't know. But the opening hour and 40 minutes, it's 5 sections that are all about an hour and 40 minutes long. And the opening section is sort of the myth making of the juice and of OJ and of him as a celebrity. And they talk to mostly family, friends, and a handful of people who are at USC and things like that. And then the only woman who talks in the entire hour and 40 minutes is his first wife in an archival interview from when they were 19. And I'm just like, was there not a single other woman who either knew O.J. Simpson or was a fan? If you're gonna build this myth of him, and what he meant to America for people who were not born then, I want to know, what did he mean to women also? Because if you cut to the trial, Black women were a huge part of that jury and a huge part of that trial. And they never once took any time in that hour and 40 minutes to understand what he meant to Black women in the 50s. I mean, in the 50s, in the 60s and 70s, in that first section. They didn't really cover what it meant to Black women when he cheated on his wife and married a white woman. They didn't cover any of that. And I'm like, okay, really? Couldn't find a single person to talk about that facet of it? So that irritated me because I know we're missing a picture of his celebrity. 2, they really, really, really didn't get into any discussions of toxic masculinity and what that means to women over and over and over again. So you have this man who is this huge celebrity, rich person who has a history of being an abuser, and I'm told that he couldn't get people to talk from his first wife and his first wife's family. Okay, fine. Have an expert talk about toxic masculinity and what that means within both the Black community and America at large, especially at this part in American history when we're just starting to get a lot of sexual harassment trials, and we're just starting to get things like spousal rape made illegal. Like, that was at the same time. And this is in the same era as, like, the Lorena Bobbitt. So, like, there's a lot of shit from a female point of view that is just not in this movie at all. And I'm like, I want that. I want that contextualization, and I want that understanding of what it meant, and what this type of domestic abuse, what the history of prosecuting people with this type of domestic abuse really was. It also doesn't really talk about. I mean, it sort of goes into a little bit of respectability politics and the fact that he really tried to be as white as he could once he could, and how they got him into like the golf courts and things like that. And then sort of they play the race card. I'm going to put quotes on that, but that was their phrase. And then was then black. And they don't really delve into what that means. They don't really delve into any of that. And these are things that I think needed to be explored and expanded upon in a way that they just weren't. And maybe you needed a 12-hour documentary to get to all these things. I don't know. But there sure was a ton of dudes talking. Like, there were so few women talking, too. That really frustrated me. I think there are far more interesting documentaries and essays and books about race relations. I think if you saw this movie and you think this is a great portrait of race relations in America, you need to seek out more broader portraits of race relations in America. I think this is a great documentary about this specific case. I think it does a great job of sort of covering the trial and covering the bonkers last few years before he went to prison for robbery that wasn't really robbery, but that also felt really rushed. Like, the ending was super rushed, and it needed to be, like, they needed a whole nother episode to really flesh that out and make that sort of make any sense. Another documentary I watched earlier this year, but I didn't do a video on it because it really was a television doc, but maybe I should have done a video, I'm not sure, was Henry Louis Gates's Black in America, MLK, what is it? Black in America, Race in, what was it? Fuck, it was Black America, PBS, Race in America since MLK, I think that was the name of it. That was a great exploration of the last sort of 50 years of race relations in America. And sort of having that contextualization from that doc and then watching this doc, there were a lot of gaps that this doc was missing that I understood because I had watched this other doc, but could have been, there could have been pieces that were used in that doc that could have really enriched this one. So basically, please go watch that doc. It's not on PBS anymore because they only let things stream for a month, so you'll have to like rent the DVD somewhere. I also really recommend a couple books I read this year. One was called The Fire This Time, and it's a bunch of people of color writing essays about race relations in America as it stands in 2016. The other one is Jeff Chang's We Gon' Be All Right, which is also a bunch of essays about sort of race and minority sort of politics in 2016. They're both great. And this is just a giant video of me talking about how you should educate yourself. There's so much out there to watch. And this movie, like, it was 8 hours of my life. And I wanted, based on what I was reading about it, I thought it was going to be so much more than it was. And I was a little disappointed. So seek out everything that you can is really what I'm saying. We're in a very strange time in this country, and there's so much information and so much thought coming from people of color, and so many great essays that you can be reading and just sort of trying to get a different point of view and perspective on both history and contemporary life, and I think that's just super important. So that's my video. Oh my God, Siri turned on again. She always does that while I'm doing these reviews. Anyways, this was produced and directed by Ezra Edelman, and this is OJ Made in America. You can still watch it on ESPN and stream it on their site. That's how I watched it. It is like 8 hours long, so be prepared and do your homework and read more stuff and watch more stuff and stay informed.